Hey everyone, it's another week of Find Your Film. This is the week ending Friday, October 22nd, 2021. I would love to say we have a lot of movies this week. We do have a lot of movies this week though, in the guise, or I guess in the presence of my betters, Eric Holmes and Bruce Perky, because they both have respective, I believe, scary Halloween picks. This is the month of Halloween. It's one of their favorite holidays. I'm assuming Bruce Perky, Mega Perk, is Halloween your favorite holiday of the year? Maybe Christmas because you're a festive kind of chap.
It's just behind Arbor Day. Arbor Day just beats it a little bit because, trees.
Just, dude, because of trees. Because Arbor Day, Eric Holmes, is that higher in your list, or is Halloween actually your number one holiday of the year?
I believe Arbor Day was invented in Nebraska, and that's where I'm from. So yeah, go Arbor Day. Unless I'm wrong about that, then fuck Arbor Day.
We are the premier Arbor Day podcast.
We're all about the trees. So yeah, Eric, Halloween really big. You're excited. Are you going to go trick or treating with your niece? What do you do on Halloween? Do you dress up? What do you do?
I stay home. Last couple years, we've been positioning our house to be the house that the kids go, that's where they got the good stuff. So like we get like the full bars of candy. Usually I have like last year I had like the big boxes of sweet tarts, and I got a bunch of Magic the Gathering cards. I had my my niece and her friend make a bunch of like Harry Potter wands. So we were giving those out, and those were a pretty big hit. I don't go trick or treating. I'm the guy that stays at home, but I got everything all situated and all the big candies good to go. And I figure 10 years from now, it'll finally catch on. That's the house, and get there early. Otherwise it's gone, because after it's gone, then we just go with the regular bowl candy. And then one year I ran out of everything. So I just started handed out packets of ramen. You would not believe how excited kids get when they get a pack of ramen.
A packet of ramen for Halloween. Not even in the candy corn colors. They're just excited. Kids love ramen. I had no idea.
Yeah, apparently that's a thing. I didn't know, but now I do.
Well, now I know too. I'm Asian. I love ramen. That's sort of part of our DNA. I just bought 5 packets of ramen the other day. Had no idea about the Halloween spin, Eric. Personally, since I'm not as festive as you, Eric, with Halloween, what me and my mom do is we just, everything's closed. Everything's closed off. No candy, no light on the thing. It's just me and my mom. We're looking at our iPhone. We're looking at Bitcoin prices and Ethereum prices. By the way, Bitcoin reached an all-time high today. I'm so happy, but you know what? We're not as happy as Eric and his family. They do such a great job for Halloween. Now, Bruce, what do you do for Halloween with your family? Are you as really wonderful as Eric about it, or are you a mean Joe Green type like me and my mom on Halloween?
My kids in the last couple of years have got old enough that they don't really like to go out as much, so they enjoy the giving out candy and trying to be spooky and all that kind of stuff. So depending on the year, we go big on the spooky, but this year not so much because I got to work late. We've done what we'll do too is we don't actually do anything mean, but we'll do things like we'll just leave the bowl on the porch unattended, but someone will be standing at the entrance, the walkway, beckoning people. And don't jump at them, won't do anything. Just stand there in costume, beckoning them. And usually they'll go down the street, walk around our house.
That's scary.
And then I'll have a kid run out to them with the candy, But yeah,
that is very cool. I think I need to be a little bit more festive when it comes to Halloween this year. Maybe I'll start buying candy and actually saying hi to my neighbors. I haven't done that for the last 30 years living in this neighborhood. That just means I'm a miscreant. Is that the right word, Bruce? Miscreant? I don't like people, or not a misogynist, misanthrope.
Maybe a bit malignant.
I was going to say malignant.
maybe a bit malignant. Okay.
Malignant. That's
malignant. Now, this is a little bit of a surprise, and this is going to be a surprise to Bruce Perky. And Bruce is actually going to be hearing this as sort of in real time. Okay. Our main feature this week is this documentary called Becoming Cousteau. Eric Holmes, were you able to watch this movie?
No.
Why were you not able to watch this movie, Eric Holmes? Can you tell our listeners?
I clicked on it and the thing expired, so I couldn't do it.
You couldn't? How dare you, Eric Holmes? I'm not. And Bruce, were you able to see Becoming Cousteau?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad, Eric, someone's responsible, because I sure as hell am not either, because I looked at the link and I was not able to actually watch Becoming Cousteau because I tried it in the midnight hour. The link would not work. I was ready to blame Eric for all of our sins. But you know what? I'm a sinner too. So I guess it's gonna be you, Bruce, for our featured film this week. Will be Becoming Cousteau, and then we're gonna actually have some Halloween scary picks from Eric Holmes and Bruce Perky. These Eric and Bruce will be pretty much anchoring this Find Your Film episode. Just wanted to say one thing for next week. Bruce, can you tell our listeners what link we got just today, and both you and Eric are so excited about that we're going to cover early next week, even though it doesn't hit theaters November 5th. What are you guys excited for us to watch ASAP?
We are going to watch the new, I think it's co-directed movie, The Beta Tests, Jim Cummings. We've been waiting for this for now. We've been aware of it for what, 6 months, 7 months, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has
Virginia Newcomb.
Thank you. My brain always forgets. And she is in it. And that makes us even more excited because we love her work, which, by the way, she is currently, as we speak, I think on day 3 of shooting the Seed and Spark movie, Don't Die, just about 100 miles north of me right now.
That's amazing. And Eric, we actually, you donated some money to the Seed and Spark campaign. Are you excited about seeing this movie?
We did.
We
as
did.
you recall, we were on a special guest host on CinemAddicts, and my potty mouth kept adding to the pot. Donated it under under CinemAddicts and Find Your Film. And so it's kind of fun when you get the crowdfunding emails. They kind of update you on the movie, like, because there wasn't anything for a while. And then all of a sudden I started getting emails. I'm like, oh yeah, that thing. And then it's pretty exciting, and look forward to seeing that when it comes out.
Well, we're also looking forward to checking out the beta test. Here's a little skinny. We actually got the link as of today. We're recording on a Wednesday, and the movie, even though it doesn't come out November 5th, the powers that be said, hey, you know what? You guys can actually review this movie a week earlier, and that usually bodes well for the actual efficacy of this film. So when publicists tell journalists and podcasters, say, hey, review this movie as fast as you can before it comes out, that's a very good sign for the beta test. I'm really excited for it. Bruce Perky, I have not watched any kind of movie directed or starring Jim Cummings. What am I missing at all? I haven't jumped on the bandwagon yet. What have I missed these last couple of years regarding not watching any of his movies yet, like The Wolf of Snow Hollow?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, he's a really strong champion of independent film, first of all. And he's really, really accessible just as a celebrity, I guess, out there, because on Twitter and every place, he's always right out there and really cool. But his movies are very, and Eric can attest to this, his style is very, very unique. He's got a very singular voice in the way he acts and the way he writes. It's kind of this combination of, he's kind of like the frantic loser, but lovable and also neurotic. I mean, he's he's played a cop in the 2 movies that we've seen so far, but he's done it in a very unique way. And I think he started with a short for Thunder Road, which basically becomes the opening of Thunder Road. And just that alone is a tour de force of single monologue craziness. What do you say, Eric?
Yeah, he's got that kind of whimsical kind of flair to his movies, but it's not obnoxious like Wes Anderson. He's got it really dialed in, I think. And it's also has a bit of darkness, but it doesn't go too dark either. It's just like Bruce said, a Jim Cummings movie looks like a Jim Cummings movie. And I think going forward, a lot of people might kind of ape that style, and kind of like how Napoleon Dynamite came out. And it's like, oh, that's he's ripping off Wes Anderson. The Lightning Road will come out and go, oh, they're ripping off Jim Cummings. Again, I appreciate that he champions independent film and filmmakers. It's really cool when someone kind of champions stuff like that, and their movies are also good.
Yeah,
that just makes it that much sweeter.
Eric, I'm sorry. We just got an email from the publicist from the beta test. You are not specifically, actually, it says you and Bruce, Greg, you and Bruce are able to see the beta test, but I can't believe I'm seeing this. I'm reading this. Eric Holmes, hamslime@gmail.com, cannot actually open the link until he sees the Wes Anderson movie, The French Dispatch. Will you watch The French Dispatch?
I already opened the link and I was afraid to close it in case it gets expired or something.
Well,
in fact, you know what? Show's over. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Are you going to? Yes,
Bruce. The reviewers. This is the, like, you gotta say first world problems. I guess reviewer that gets screeners problems. That agita you get when you open it, it says 3 views, and you're like, oh crap, I better not close it accidentally one more time, or I'll only get halfway through the movie. It's like,
No, it's your fault, Bruce, because whenever we get the screening, within 10 minutes, you're actually watching the movie, and you put me and Eric in a chaotic uproar because we're so nervous that you're a quick draw friggin' cinematic McGraw when it comes to watching movies. Expect Bruce Berkey and Eric Holmes to watch, yes, this wonderful Jim Cummings movie, The Beta Test, ASAP. We'll be talking about it next week here on Find Your Film. Now,
hopefully Bruce likes it. That'd be nice.
That's
I hope so too. That would be terrible.
Oh, I heard the beta test might be as brilliant, Eric. I'm excited. Someone said that it might be as brilliant as The Blazing World. So I think Bruce Berkey might be really excited about this.
Nice.
Right, Bruce? Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
I'm on fire. I'm on fire for that idea.
Okay, now, first off, our feature review is put X does not mark the spot for Eric Holmes or Greg Zrzavosty, speaking in the third person. Bruce, you're going to anchor this segment. Featured movie, Becoming Cousteau. You're the only responsible podcaster who legitimately opened the link that worked. Tell us about this documentary. Should people watch it, whether or not you love Cousteau or not?
Yes, I would say it's actually probably more value added the less you know about Cousteau, because I think that some people more in our age group might be so familiar with him that you'll still get something from this, but you might get less from it than a person who goes like, I've never heard of this guy. Who's this guy? And then as they discover all the things he's done and who he was, they'll be probably pretty fascinated that they didn't know more about him. It's directed by Liz Garbus. I didn't write all the information down. I believe it's through National Geographic.
Yes, it's through National Geographic, and Liz Garbus is a 2-time Academy Award nominated filmmaker. So we're assuming this documentary is not just a paint by numbers project on Cousteau.
Right. So it isn't. So this isn't going to be a super avant-garde style. It's pretty straightforward as far as the style of the documentary goes. It's kind of goes through his life from pretty early on, actually, especially from the point that he kind of becomes a sailor and interested in the sea and all of that. But what is really cool about this movie, for the people who do know a lot about Cousteau, so in my age, there was these specials all the time, the Undersea World of Jacques Cousteau, I believe is what it was called.
I remember that, yeah.
At first, I think it was kind of a series, and then eventually it became like you'd have specials. So, and on TV, because there weren't a lot of choices, if you were interested into it, you'd be looking forward to that. Oh, new Jacques Cousteau special. It's about sharks this time, or it's about octopuses, or whatever it is. But before that, it shows how he started out. And I'm not going to go through all the things. It's kind of fun to discover if you don't know more about him. But essentially, he is probably the most responsible first person for the way that we view underwater photography, the way that we can explore underwater. He's responsible for that in an actual invention standpoint. He's very, very responsible for ecological stuff as well. And even pretty strong thing into the whole global climate change stuff too, which I did not know about that part as much. And what I will say is that you talked about whether it's a puff piece or whether it's paint by numbers. The things that I appreciated about this and the early stuff that it talks about him, it doesn't shy away from how early on, like a lot of different pick your cause, they weren't as aware. So when they saw sharks attacking a wounded whale, which naturally happens in the world back in the early days, they all got all mad and they dragged a bunch of the sharks onto the deck of their ship and murdered them all, killed them all.
My goodness. What?
And there's stuff like that in here.
Yeah.
Cousteau addresses, obviously he's passed now, but they have interviews throughout his life, and he addresses later in his life, and he just admits, we were wrong. We shouldn't have done that. And I changed and I learned from this. And the whole, that kind of gives a lot of the stuff he does later in this movie when it comes around, ecological and preserving the oceans and all that. It gives it a little more oomph because he wasn't there at the beginning of his life. He had to come to that point. So as opposed to someone who just kind of was raised their whole life with those beliefs, it actually gives a lot of strength to that. So I think that journey is really useful in this as well. Other little things for filmmakers, watching his first Palme d'Or winning documentary was directed by Louis Malle.
I had no idea. Wow.
That's kind of mind-blowing for film lovers. You'll see that. I won't go into much else. This is a solid documentary. If you wanted just a meat and potatoes documentary with gives you information about someone you may or may not know a lot about, it's great. If you don't know a lot about him, it might even be better.
Okay, so that is Becoming Cousteau. Thank you, Bruce Berkey, for being 1 out of 3 who reviewed this National Geographic documentary films project, which, by the way, again, it comes out this Friday, October 22nd, in over 300 screens in 50 plus markets. Again, from National Geographic documentary films, Becoming Cousteau. So are there a lot of also talking heads just talking about how awesome Cousteau was, or did they leave that trope out of the whole doc?
There's a little bit in there, I feel, and a lot of it, if they are talking heads, it's people that he actually was with. But I think most of it is footage. A lot of footage. And there's a lot of footage that hasn't been shown before. And I won't discuss some of it because there's some footage they show that I was kind of surprised they showed, because some of them are tragic events, which they were partially responsible for, but they show it. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. That shows that this isn't paint by numbers, like you said.
Okay, so that is Becoming Cousteau. Eric Holmes, Bruce did a better job at reviewing this movie than you and I probably would have. Maybe every single week we just introduce a movie and just have him review it. What do you think, Eric Holmes, about that idea?
I love that idea. It's
I don't like this idea. I do not like this idea.
Let's let him do all the hard work because he's the most insightful out of all of us. So again, Becoming
But
Cousteau.
we'll just have Bruce review the movie, and then we'll go, yeah, you're probably right.
No, you're wrong. One or the other. Yeah.
You know what we should do next time for the just future episodes, Eric? When we just pretend we actually, the link expired, and then we actually did watch it. And then we don't say anything, and especially if it's a hard movie. So Bruce, remember, you got the kit. You're the man on you're the man on the the mast. You're the captain of the ship now when it comes to a lot of movies. We're gonna actually throw that to you. So hopefully get ready to doing a lot of movies by yourself. Okay, how does that sound? Okay, yeah. No.
Okay.
I wanted to, before we get to our recommendations, I'm just kidding. Before we get to our recommendations for this podcast, I also wanted to say for next week, we're going to be reviewing the beta test. Of course, the aforementioned Jim Cummings. One thing I'm also going to plug next week, I just received a DVD and Blu-ray of Stillwater, courtesy of Universal Pictures Home Entertainment. One big part of what we're going to do with Find Your Film, I alluded to it last week, is we're going to do some DVD Blu-ray giveaways. So next week, I'll be doing a DVD Blu-ray digital code giveaway of the Matt Damon film Stillwater. So look forward to more. And then after that, I will possibly have the Aretha Franklin movie, aka Jennifer Hudson as Aretha Franklin, the movie Respect, on Blu-ray and DVD that we can plug also on this Find Your Film podcast. So part of finding your film is hopefully finding some really good physical media, and hopefully some of you loyal listeners will win one of our giveaways. Okay, so that is it. Let's go to recommendations. Eric Holmes, your turn. No links here. This is you. You're actually linking from your own subconscious. What's your first
It's not a good place to link from.
What is your first recommendation for this week?
Well, maybe we should start with the big one, the one that everyone's probably seen already. Saw a movie called HalloweenKills.
HalloweenKills. Oh, nice, Bruce. With what is Michael Myers? Did you actually purchase that, Bruce, on your person? How old is this figure that you've had? How long have you had it?
Late 90s, early thousands.
What inspired you to actually purchase it? Just for the heck of it?
They came out with a series of movie maniacs, little guys like this. So he was one of them.
I was at the Todd McFarlane one.
Yep.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so this is HalloweenKills. I actually look. I hate to say this, and this is a movie podcast. I'm really outing myself right now. I have not seen one Halloween film. I know the score.
I haven't seen one Halloween film.
I'll probably, if I start, I'm not. You know what? I'll probably, since I'm, bass awkward, I'll probably start with Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, and then work my way back and forth. Bad. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I heard. Andrew Martin from Andrew Watches Movies. I remember he's a champion of that movie. That's why I want Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. But Eric Holmes, HalloweenKills. I've been hearing some people really love it, but then some people really think it's throwaway garbage. Where do you land on it? Tell us about this movie, and were you disappointed?
I don't know if I love it, but I lean more on that end of it. First of all, should we say the opening scene? The opening scene's really good. And there's someone shows up it's really exciting to see. Halloween 2018 is basically supposed to be a direct sequel of the John Carpenter's Halloween. And of course, this is continuing that with HalloweenKills. The Halloween 2018 seemed to be a lot darker and kind of more creepy, kind of almost staying in line with the original Halloween. And so I was kind of expecting more of that with HalloweenKills, them kind of continuing that tone, but they really didn't do that at all. This is more of a straight up they're all slashers, but this is like the slasher you think of. Like this movie has cheese all over it, and some of it I kind of appreciated, but not right away did I do that, because again, I often tell a story of one time when I was a kid. and I really like sour cream and onion potato chips. Those were my favorite things to eat ever.
I still love them. I still like them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite thing now, but I still
Oh.
do like them. But my parents went to one of their friends' parties, and those kids were there. And I saw a big green bag of chips, and that looks like sour cream and onion to me. I reach in, grab a big old bag of them, and shove them in my mouth. And they're salt and vinegar chips. Immediately spit it out.
I love them too. I like those too. But Bruce, salt and vinegar chips. Would you spit them out? Do you like them? What are you?
I like
what
them. I love them.
Again, I like salt and vinegar chips now too. But when I'm a kid and I'm expecting to get sour cream and onion and get a mouthful of salt and vinegar, it was kind of I wasn't quite prepared for it. And so now, having seen Halloween Kills and kind of knowing what it is and how silly it can be and how cheesy it is at times, it's kind of grown on me a little bit. And it seems like one of those movies I think I'll watch it again and have kind of fun with it on its own terms, as opposed to what I was expecting it to be. Now, that said, I thought without saying anything about the ending, I thought that the ending was set up Halloween Ends pretty good. And I think it set it up a lot better than Halloween set up Halloween Kills, because Halloween 2018, when it ended and they're like, we're making a sequel, I'm like, well, how the fuck do you do that? How do you do that? And then when they explain that in Halloween Kills, I'm like, well, that's fucking stupid. But I mean, that seems to be the whole tone that they're going for in this movie. I don't get why they decided that, but they did, and I would be happy to watch it again. And I'm really excited to see based on the ending of Halloween Kills, I'm really excited to see what they do with Halloween Ends, because I think that set it up a lot better than 2018 set up Halloween Kills.
Bruce, Eric was talking about the tone changes between Halloween and Halloween Kills. Do you think director David Gordon Green, obviously he's had a very diverse career, has he handled the Halloween franchise just in aggregate with these two films the way you wanted it to be? Do you think he was a perfect filmmaker for this? Are you excited for Halloween Ends? All that. How's he doing as far as taking over those reins?
I think he's doing fine. This is kind of an unenviable situation. And I compared this to something else, and people got upset with me, but I'll do it again. And that is, I kind of compare it to the Star Wars sequels that just came out recently. It's a no-win situation for the people who make those movies, whether they're good or bad. You're going to piss off a bunch of people, and you're going to make a bunch of people super happy. You know what I mean? So a great director can get in there, and you're kind of already burdened with so much baggage of this long series. That being said, I mean, I'm kind of in a similar camp to Eric on it. I think overall I was kind of middle of the road on it, mostly because I felt like it started out really strong. And I mean, it was great. It's going to tide me over to the beta test. I'll just say that. I'm not going to say why, but there's a great opening. And in fact, by the time and this isn't spoiling anything, it's like in all the footage you see, by the time that Michael kind of walks out of the burning building, I was like, this could be like almost one of my favorite Halloween movies ever. This is shaping up to be awesome. And then it just kind of, it got a little too, it went in so many different directions. All of them didn't quite work for me. And it kind of became a little messy for me. And I wanted it to be a little more streamlined. It almost shaped like it was going to be the original Halloween 2. And Eric could probably see what I'm saying about this. The original Halloween 2 was much more of a hardcore slasher movie. And a lot of people didn't like that because the first one was so atmospheric and kind of tense. This one almost feels like it's going to go down that road again because it's much more gory. It's much more slashery. And it's got moments of brilliance. I'll just say there's a moment where Michael is testing out knives in a very unique way, which was brilliant, I thought.
Yeah, I think I know what scene you're talking about. That was like one of a couple scenes in the movie where I was like, it's weird to say, but it almost touched me emotionally.
Yeah.
If it's a scene that you're talking about on the countertop.
Yes.
Yeah. And that scene, I was like, holy damn, that's fucking dark. Yeah. And then it just goes back to the cheese and fun. But
yeah, see, that's that at that moment, I was like, oh wow, if this keeps going like this could be really fucking interesting. But then it kind of didn't. But I mean, it is what it is. People are very passionate about this movie, which kind of surprises me. I don't really see why this engenders so much passion in people. But hey, movies do that for us, and different movies strike us in our souls. We all have the movies that get us.
I would suggest in future movies that just for the safety of the people of Haddonfield, they learn how to use a gun and aim it.
And learn how to tell if somebody is 5'9" versus 6'3"?
And learn to if they're in front of you and they're coming to kill you, just point it at them and shoot. If they're behind a wall, you don't need to shoot. If you can't see them, probably not a good idea to start shooting them because you're just wasting bullets. But
Also, they should all watch Zombieland and just basically remember double tap.
yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I don't think that would have helped.
I don't think so either.
Now, for people like me, just the few people like me who haven't seen Halloween, do they start with 2018's Halloween, or do they go Halloween, then Halloween 2, and then go into Halloween, and then Halloween Kills? What's the chronology in order to? Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
I would start with the first Halloween just because it's a good movie. If you haven't seen any of them, you could get away with just watching 2018 and then this one. And in fact, you could probably just get away with watching this one because even though the story continues, it kind of, I think it could probably stand on it like on its own as its own feature. I don't think you're gonna, if you just watch Halloween Kills, I don't think you're gonna miss too much. I mean, you'd miss a lot. You miss 2 awesome movies, but you're not gonna be lost, I guess I would say.
The only thing I would say to that though is, and I wondered about this when I was watching it, like how confused would I have been if I didn't know like any of the history? Because I know they do kind of recap it a little bit, but there's a lot of characters here that are based on characters you've seen before. I think if you really want to enjoy it the best, I would say what Eric said first, what I would do, which is the Halloween original, Halloween 2018, and then Halloween Kills, because the last 2 really rely, or they don't rely on it, I guess, but they're much richer if you kind of know who all these characters were before. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Halloween 2 is not a necessity to get into Halloween 2018.
No.
Okay.
In fact, and that's the weird thing. That's a weird thing about this. And I think that's why I spit out the salt and vinegar chips, is that the whole conceit of Halloween 2018 was we're ignoring the rest of the Halloween movies. This is a sequel to the John Carpenter's Halloween. And I thought the conceit was we're going to take this seriously. We're going to continue that tone. And so I thought, and so obviously when Halloween Kills, I thought they were going to continue that. And when they didn't, and they went, it's like, wait, this is, it was just basically kind of threw me off a little bit. I guess to that point, if you don't know that and you're not expecting that, then maybe you go right into Halloween Kills and go, yeah, this is about what I expected from a slasher sequel.
Okay, so that is Halloween Kills, currently streaming on Peacock. Obviously, the best form would be to watch it in theaters, I'm assuming. Yeah, Halloween Kills on the theaters. Is that how you guys watch it, or probably you guys both saw it on Peacock? How you guys do it?
I rented it on Peacock, saw it on there.
Yeah, okay. Peacock. But this would have been a fun one to see in the theater. This would be a fun one to see with the audience in the theater, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of theaters, what movies do you guys plan to see this weekend? What's on your docket? Because I still, until I get the booster shot, still not going to watch the movie. So what's the movie you get? Dune? Is that the one?
Dune, Dune. Yep. My birthday's this weekend, and I'm going to play the Dune board game, and then I'm going to go watch Dune, and then I'm going to come home and then probably listen to the rest of Dune Messiah audiobook.
Again, that is Friday, October 22nd, that Eric Holmes celebrates his 30th birthday. Happy birthday on Friday, October 22nd.
44, but yeah, we can go 30. That's
44. October Eve. Obviously, he wants to be, his perfect age would be age 69, but he's 25 years off.
Yeah, don't take years away from me. Not until I get there.
Okay, so again, early happy birthday wish to you, Eric Holmes, for October 22nd. You will be in a Dune rampage. Bruce Berkey, will you be on a Dune rampage on Friday? You're working all day, probably. What are you going to see over the weekend in theaters if you're going to see something?
If I have time, we decided to kind of split our duties so that way we each get to see something different. I'll probably see, and I think it's out this weekend, The Last Night in Soho. If it's in my area, I'll watch that. And then maybe I'll watch Dune too, but it just kind of whether time permits.
Yes. A lot of people are loving Dune, and a lot of people are not liking Dune so much. So it's there's a lot of little split camp here on Dune. It'll be interesting.
Having read the book and having not seen the movie yet, I'm wondering if this might be a Lord of the Rings sort of thing. The Fellowship of the Ring came out. I remember watching that the first time and the movie just stopped. I'm like, I gotta wait another fucking year to see this. I remember watching that. I was so disappointed with that. So when Two Towers came out, I'm like, not doing it. I will wait till the Return of the King comes out, and then I'll watch the first one, watch the second one on DVD, and then go to the theater and watch the third one. That's what I did.
You waited 3 years for that privilege. My goodness.
And I'm wondering, because I know how Dune ends. I've read the book, so I know where the story's going. And so one of my things I'm excited about is to see how they translate that into the movie. But if you haven't read the book, then you don't know. So I haven't seen the movie yet, but the people I've seen that are disappointed with it for that reason. And I'll be able to talk more about it next week, without spoilers, of course. But yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Would you quickly, before we get to Bruce's recommendation, one of his first of his two recommendations this week, would you recommend the Lynch film Dune, or would you recommend the miniseries?
Okay, so the Lynch film, I do recommend it, but that's about like, because I saw Jodorowsky's Dune and what he wanted to do with it. I mean, that would be a sweet movie, but that's not what the book is. David Lynch's version is a little closer to that, but I think where the Dune book really shines is the end and the a lot of the political intrigue that gets him to that end, and it's kind of there in the Lynch version, but not really. Like, it doesn't really drive it home. It's kind of like The Last Man on Earth, the adaptation of I Am Legend. It gets close enough that if you read the book, it's like, okay, yeah, they kind of hit all the beats, but they didn't really drive it home the way the book did. I'm thinking that the Denis Villeneuve versions, it seems like it's going to do that. Unfortunately for everyone else, unless we get that second movie, it's not gonna have that gut punch ending like the book did. Or it might not at all. Maybe they go in a completely different direction. That's entirely possible too. I would say for the people that watch the Dune, and I don't know, I haven't even watched it yet. But if you're disappointed with how the story ends, just wait. The second one, it'll totally be worth it. But
okay.
We'll talk more about it next week.
We will see. Eric Holmes will give his report on Dune next week, and hopefully, if what is it, Last Night in Soho or Night in Soho, Bruce? So hopefully, if that's playing this week, you're going to watch it. So we'll see what happens with that Soho film. Now, Bruce, what's your first of your two recommendations this week? What you got?
Well, I tried to make both of mine slasher or slasher adjacent, kind of, since that seems to be the theme of the week. And I went back to one that I wanted to talk about last year. It was impossible to find. It's still pretty impossible to find, but it has been released now on Shout Factory. So you can now watch 1982's Alone in the Dark, directed by Jack Shoulder. Jack Shoulder has a connection to something that Eric's going to talk about a little later. I will mention that when it comes up.
I never heard of director. I never heard of him. So very interested to hear that connection. Okay.
Jack Shoulder is in a series of movies that might be mentioned by Mr. Eric Holmes. So this is a very, very unusual slasher movie. It's almost like a precursor to Scream, but not as overtly meta and way ahead of its time, so it doesn't quite work for people at the time, and it doesn't fit the slasher genre really at all, which is probably why it kind of fell into obscurity. I was looking up some of the trivia. It was the first release by New Line Cinema. That should tell you something. Here are the stars of this movie. Frank, played by Jack Palance. He is in an asylum. He is a vet who is murderous and is kept in this asylum as a dangerous criminal. We have Preacher, played by Martin Landau. He is also a dangerous, insane criminal in this asylum. We also have two others, the Bleeder and another gentleman. The Bleeder, you never see his face, and when he gets really excited or homicidal, he bleeds, but they don't show his face. He's very embarrassed. And then their doctor, Dr. Leo Bain, played by Donald Pleasance. Aha, Donald Pleasance from Halloween. Donald Pleasance.
Great cast. That's a great freaking cast right there.
Yeah.
My God.
Donald Pleasance has a really interesting method here. First of all, he has a brand new doctor that's coming in, and he kind of gives him the tour, that classic thing, like, here's our grounds, and here's my his methods are very hippy dippy, right? He's like, man, we're all in this disturbed world, and it's just too much for them to take, and we need to find out how to let them coexist in this world. And they're like, well, how do you keep these guys in? So we have no windows, man, no locks or anything. So what they have is an electrical system that if one of the homicidal guys tries to escape, it will shut the window. It'll sense that they're trying to go through the window, and it'll shut the window. So it'll lock them in if they try to do anything. Unfortunately, this is called Alone in the Dark, which means that there is a blackout and all the electricity goes out. So, hey, they're all free. And the new doctors and his family live nearby, and they have discovered the address of the new doctor and his family. And Jack Palance's character blames the new doctor for killing the previous doctor. He didn't, but he thinks that he did. They're all on a mission to go and get the new doctor at his house. That's kind of the setup. Is it a great movie? No. Is it a very unusual movie and a lot of fun for people, especially that like 80s slashers movies and have never seen this movie? I would say it's something you should at least check out. For no other reason, this town, it's some small town, if for no other reason then when the electricity goes out, it seems to take about 10 minutes for the entire town to go into a looting rampage and set things on fire. And you have a great scene where the escaped criminals, like just kind of blend into the crowd, and they go into like a hardware store and stuff, and they're all finding their weapons and things, and it's pretty great setup. The only other things I would say about this, it has a couple interesting trivia pieces. This was one of the movies, it didn't officially get video nasty status, but it was one of the movies that would have been and was cut by British censors, like the title character in the movie Censor, which is now out on Hulu, which we talked about recently. If you want to,
you posted that
episodes.
Yeah, very cool film.
So this is one of those movies at the time that was actually cut in Britain because of its violence and stuff. It's not actually that violent, but it's not violent at all, really. And another thing that I read about it that was really interesting is they wished they had a bigger budget, and if they had, the original plan was this. Now tell me if this would not have been an awesome movie. Instead of being out in the country, it was going to be a blackout in New York City, and they were going to escape, and the mafia was going to have to hunt them down.
That sounds like a remake in the offing. That sounds like a really cool film.
I would have watched the hell out of that. Anyway, if you have any interest in those actors who went on, two of those actors went on to win Academy Awards after this movie, then you might want to check this out.
Okay, so that's Alone in the Dark, directed and co-written by Jack Shoulder. I was looking at some of Shoulder's work. My goodness, what a career this guy has had. Amazing career. And surprisingly, I guess we're going to talk about a little bit more about him. Again, that is Bruce's first pick, Alone in the Dark. Eric, we're up with you. What's your next pick?
Well, shit, we'll just get right into it. My next pick is actually a bunch of picks. I got a wild hair up my butt and started watching a bunch of Nightmare on Elm Streets. I skipped 1, 3, and New Nightmare because I've seen those plenty of times. I watched 2 a couple times, over the years I've watched 2 a couple times. Dream Master, Dream Child, Freddy's Dead, and Freddy versus Jason. Well, I watched Freddy versus Jason because the kids love that movie. So I figured, fuck it, I'll watch this one again. But mostly it was the I guess to Bruce's point, the Jack Shoulder, he did the Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Yep. Is that okay? I think because I've seen all these movies before a long time ago, and then just kind of revisiting them. Oh, by the way, Nightmare on Elm Street is about a child murdering dream demon that goes around and killing all the children. One of the things that struck me in watching them, it was I never realized how much these movies connect, because I always seem to remember them as kind of standalones, like, similar characters coming in and out. I didn't ever recall the storyline just keep moving forward, and so that was kind of neat. And
Fudge, what happened?
The Dream Master, yes. Director of the Dream Master is, and this
Renny Harlin.
Yes. And this is gonna suck what I'm gonna say after this. Renny Harlin needs more love because that guy is fucking awesome.
He's an awesome filmmaker.
He is, and it sucks that I literally just forgot his name right before I was about to say.
I got your back, man. I got your back. I know.
But I think obviously 1, 3 and New Nightmare, people kind of prop those movies up as they should because they're good. But I think as a whole, like the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is pretty solid for the most part. You get kind of silly with the Dream Child and Freddy's Dead, which I gotta bring up a Freddy's Dead director is Rachel
Talalay.
Rachel
Talalay. Yeah, I interviewed her for Tank Girl.
Yeah, she did Tank Girl, and she did some really cool stuff. Like there was stuff in Freddy's Dead that was clearly supposed to be 3D coming at you. And there's some special effects that don't quite hold up, but it looked pretty ambitious for the time when you talk about female directors. And Tank Girl's awesome.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's amazing that she never comes up, and she absolutely should.
I did the press day for that. I interviewed her and Lori Petty years ago. I'm so old.
It'd be good to see her in Penelope Spheris, because I was thinking about her the other day with the Wayne's World and Black Sheep. Like you get you don't hear of many jobber women directors, but they're there. And then, of course, Renny Harlin with the Dream Master. Dream Master,
that's a good one.
Okay, that's not my favorite Freddy movie.
Yeah.
But after watching again, that one shot like damn near like side by side with Dream Warriors for me. And I was absolutely stunned by that. But don't have much more else to say other than
I'll say one more thing for you to say.
One more thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's just say, hey, someone says, Eric, I only have one slot for a Nightmare on Elm Street film to see during this Halloween season. What's the Nightmare on Elm Street movie that I should watch, non-linear structure side, just based on the quality of the movie, based on scares, based on story? What's the most bang for your buck you're gonna get?
The most standalone one is probably New Nightmare, or the first one. But I think New Nightmare is Wes Craven's been doing it for a while. I think he's gotten better as he went on. So probably New Nightmare. And New Nightmare, I think, was a lot ahead of its time when it came out. I remember it came out, and granted, a lot of critics at the time were like, just turn their nose up at horror, which is fine. But I think New Nightmare holds up a lot better than it did when it came out. But if you want to go a little more fun, I would go with Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare, because that one has a lot of Freddy's history. It does a lot of flashbacks, and there's storyline that continues from the Dream Child that you're not going to know about. But each of these movies, I think, were meant to bring in new people anyway. So I would say if you want to see a legit good movie, go New Nightmare, and if you want to go silly, go Freddy's Dead.
Okay, were you a fan, Bruce, of the Nightmare on Elm Street films? Would you agree with those picks as far as what pick?
Yes, I was. I saw almost all of them in the theater. In fact, last year, when the pandemic was still pretty strong, I think my son and I went and saw the original Nightmare on Elm Street. We saw it in the theater with only us. We were alone in the theater, and it held up, and he liked it quite a bit. For that's a pretty darn old movie for him to enjoy, and it was really enjoyable still.
Okay, Bruce, so what is your second recommendation after we've done a Nightmare on Elm Street saga review from Eric Holmes?
Well, this was, I guess, my discovery of the week. This was a movie that I don't even know if I had heard of it before, and it kind of blew me away about how awesome it was. And this is called DreamHome from 2010.
Wow, never heard of it.
It's on AMC Plus or Shudder, and I believe you can rent it all over the place too. But if you want to see it for free streaming, it's one of those two. Directed by Ho Chung Pang. I believe since it takes place in Hong Kong, I'm assuming that's a Hong Kong director. This movie's awesome. Pre-warning, very violent. So if you can't handle that, not for you. But we're talking about horror movies and
violent to the point of being
yes. Okay. So here's the basic concept. I'll tell you how it starts. I'll give you the basic concept at the start of it here. So it starts with a little blurb on the screen. It's something like, it's talking about the price of real estate in Hong Kong. Like if you want a nice apartment or condo, it's extremely expensive. And this is supposed to take place right before the housing collapse. So this is filmed in 2010, I guess, but it's supposed to be like 2008 or whatever. And it talks about how basically the average working middle-class person could not afford a nice place at all. And then the next shot basically is you have this woman. She's kind of made up. She's not in disguise, but she's got, like a coat and a hat. And she goes into this big high-rise apartment building, and she goes to the security office where there's all the security cameras.
Bruce, can you go back a little bit for we just lost you for a second? Can you talk about the woman? So pick up where the
woman is she's she's got a coat on and a hat. She's not fully disguised, but she's kind of looking as incognito as possible, right? And she goes into the security office of this big high-rise apartment building where they have all the security cameras and everything. And the security guard's just sleeping. He's dozing. She sneaks up behind him. She has one of those big zip ties like you use to handcuff people. And almost like a game of Operation or something where you're trying not to touch the sides and set off the alarm, she lowers it over his head and then pulls the zip tie really tight. And of course, he's immediately choking and his face getting ready. He's suffocating. He's grappling at everything. She's just standing there. She has a hand-sized sledgehammer in her hand, but she's still just watching him. He's still scrambling, losing air. What's he going to do? He finally catches purchase of a box cutter and proceeds to try to cut the zip tie off his neck. And that's the beginning of this movie. So what this movie does so well, and it starts out with like a time, it's like 11:45 p.m. on a certain day. So the whole movie takes place over just like an hour or two of her basically doing what she thinks is necessary in every brutal and unrelenting fashion to get her dream home. But intercut between these efforts, it gives the flashback of her whole life and why this matters so much to her. So you start from her as a child and end up to the moment right before she goes to this apartment complex. And it is very brutal, very imaginative. This is like HalloweenKills. A lot of people talking about how bloody and imaginative the murders were. This is, I would say, a step up from that. This movie is quite something.
Oh gosh, how did you hear about this? You've always heard that it's a good movie, and then
No,
just
I hadn't. I hadn't. It has a really cool graphic. I had posted the picture of the poster, and it's kind of this painted picture of her with this knife. I was kind of drawn to it and Shudder, and I was like, well, that looks unusual. First of all, the slasher movies with a female killer is very unusual. And then to take a killer where you really set up their backstory. So you do this really interesting thing where you combine understanding her, like she's not a maniac, understanding she has a purpose. This is all for a purpose, but she's also unrelentingly brutal in this movie. So it's something.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like an interesting movie. I don't know, just because of that zip tie thing. I don't know. But I'm gonna, Eric, you gotta see this. You gotta.
I'm
Mike,
sold. You had me at zip tie.
And
that's that's not even close to. You're gonna see a couple things in there. You're gonna be like, holy shit, they went there.
Okay, but anyways, DreamHome currently, Bruce loves it. High recommendation from Bruce Berkey.
Yeah.
Currently streaming on AMC Plus or Shudder. I'll probably watch it on Shudder. Before we get to your what's in the box, Bruce, do you have one more, Eric, for the road? Do you have one more film? Okay, yeah. What is it?
I do. So on Let's Crash This Parade, the YouTube channel.
Yeah, Jack Fitzpatrick. Yeah, is that his name?
Yeah, Jack Fitzpatrick.
Jack, we love you, Jack. I was kidding us. I know your name.
He had a what was that video that he had with the list of if you like Squid Games,
right?
Check out these movies.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a bunch of them on there, and I would highly recommend anyone check that video out if you haven't. But one of the movies he had on there was called Exam, and I was like, well, I don't know what Exam is, but oh, looky here, I can find it online. I'm going to check out Exam, and so that's what I did. Exam is a 2009 movie, directed by Stuart Hazeldine, and basically it's just a bunch of people. They sit down, they sit down in a room. I think there's eight of them, and someone comes up, to address the class, so to speak, and he gives the rules. And I don't remember the rules because my brain is mush. But essentially what it is that they have to, there's a question before them. They have to figure out what the question is, and then they have to answer the question. And they're not allowed to talk to him or the guard that's in there. The guard dude, the guy playing the guard's one of the best actors ever. All he had to do was stand there and just not say anything. And I know it sounds super easy, but try to stand there for 2 hours and not say anything and see how well you can do that. And I'm sure he had to do that for more than 2 hours because, take shots. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So once the guy leaves, they're not allowed to address the guy or the guard. They're not allowed to leave the room. If they leave the room, they're disqualified. And if they have a paper in front of them that says contestant 1, 2, it's not contestant, but person 1, 2, whatever, and a pencil, and they're not allowed to damage their own paper. So he leaves, and now the people are just trying to figure out, like, what question? I don't know what we're supposed to do. And so they're trying to figure it out. And of course, it devolves into people kind of butting heads with each other. Oh, we got to figure this out, and I'll kill you if I have to. It's like, whoa, dude, we can just figure this out. But it was pretty tense.
Never heard of this one. It's just called Exam.
Yeah. There was a movie called The Exam. This one's just called Exam.
Okay.
This was a pretty cool movie. I'm not that guy, but I figured this one out pretty early on because when someone stands in front of a class and the first thing he says is pay attention because I'm not going to repeat. I pay attention, I pause it, and then I turn the subtitles on so I can read exactly what it is he's saying. And so I figured this out. Not like I figured it out, but like, there's a flaw in his logic because he did that, he said that thing, and as it turned out, that wasn't a flaw in his logic. That was a thing. So be wary about that. But then after the twist goes a little further and kind of explains more why they're there. I don't know, Bruce, you seen Cube? Have you seen Cube,
yes.
Greg?
No, I haven't seen Cube. Yeah.
Okay, so when Cube ends, it's basically people trapped in a situation trying to figure their way out. And then when the people figure their way out at the end, it just stops. The movie just stops. Like, cool, you got out. That's the end of the movie. It's like, well, what the fuck was this all about? I think where Exam does better than Cube is you get to the end, you get the twist, and then they explain what's going on. So it's a lot more satisfying, I think. So even though I figured out the twist, I had no idea what they were in there for, and it still had a satisfying ending regardless of that. I don't know if people get the twist. Like, you have to really pay attention to what the guy's saying at the beginning, and something he said one particular thing that just really, I just zeroed in on it almost immediately. So maybe if I was a little drunker when I was watching, I would not have done that. But yeah, I would like to thank Jack Fitzpatrick for bringing this movie to my attention. It was really fun, really suspenseful, and yeah, it was a good one. Check it out.
Okay, so that is Exam. It was released in 2009, and like Eric said, you could see it on streaming, and you can rent it as well. But it's on AMC Plus as far as, and DirecTV if you want to sub it as well. So that sounds like both very interesting movies. Exam, and when I was thinking Alone in the Dark, what was the last movie you did? DreamHome, Bruce. That sounds very, very interesting. Now we're closing out the show. We're after a 2-week hiatus. What's in the box? But before we do what's in the box, we have our special guest, special musical guest. Eric, who's our special musical guest for this year Find Your Film episode?
Our special musical guest is Pete Pancakes and the Pancake Eaters. Yo, Pete, drop that beat.
Who's in the box? Oh, what's in the box? You lie! No! What's in the fucking box?
All right, Bruce, what you got?
Well, I have suggested by Ken Cunningham, 1982 Megaforce is the movie.
Megaforce. Ken always comes up with interesting movies.
Directed by Hal Needham. This is not a free stream anywhere. You had to get it either Amazon. I got Amazon rental, or you could do, I think, Apple rental. There might be a couple other places. This is a movie that I never had actually seen, but I vaguely remembered it being out in 1982. The main stars of this are Barry Bostwick from Rocky Horror Picture Show and a bunch of other stuff. Persis Kambata.
Persis Kambata from Star Trek The Motion Picture.
Star Trek Motion Picture, yes, exactly.
Yes.
And there's a bunch of other people in here too. They're probably the two most notable people for my brain, I guess. This is one of those movies that it either hits you or doesn't hit you. It's one of those kind of camp movies for sure. How to describe this? Well, first of all, I was reading some of the trivia on this. Team America World Police is based loosely on this movie, Megaforce.
Wow.
Megaforce is supposed to be this elite fighting force that takes place maybe in the future from 1982. I'm not sure exactly. It's a little unclear. It's a real it's a real mess. I kept thinking about it, thinking this is like even though it's 1982, I thought of this as like a disco sci-fi action movie where the director, because he's a stuntman, mostly known as a stuntman at that time, and director, he had access to lots of motorcycles, lots of tanks, some military airplanes, and a section of desert, probably in Nevada or Eastern California. And he just loosely cobbled together some kind of a plot around it. There isn't much to say. Oh, and if you have to do anything with this movie, it's not very exciting. This is not, to me, this doesn't have enough camp fun. But the camp fun it does have is staggering. Give it a try. If it's not for you, I would say you could probably find a YouTube mix of the most funny things from Megaforce. But if nothing else, look up Barry Bostwick from Megaforce and see what he looks like, because he basically spends the whole movie dressed in various spandex jumpsuits, silver jumpsuits, blue, like powder blue jumpsuits. His hair he's got one of those early 80s beards, kind of like Kenny Loggins or something. And then he's got the perfectly coiffed blonde hair. And he always has this little forehead strap. And it's always like the color of his outfit. It's quite something. There is a parachuting dance sequence in this movie.
Was it well executed? The parachuting dance?
Oh God, no! It was
Okay.
really sad. Lots of green screen.
Well, what's Hal Needham? So was the action watchable or fun to watch?
Lots of explosions, lots of motorcycles and tanks. So not really to me, but to some people, maybe. I had some fun watching it. I would lie if I said I didn't have some fun watching it. It wasn't 90 minutes of fun. I would say it's about 20 minutes of fun.
20 minutes of fun. Ken Cunningham, what did you do? What did you force?
But I'm not sorry I
Bruce
watched
Berkey?
it, because I don't mind watching these kind of things. Like we watched the other day, a month ago, we watched Tough Turf. Now, Tough Turf, that's the kind of cheesy jam that I can eat all day long.
Okay, so that was our CinemAddicts group member, Ken Cunningham. He's always very cool with his
Yeah.
picks. I mean, Ken Cunningham. Who else? We got Matt Stillman. We have Andrew Martin. We have a whole bunch. And the aforementioned Jack Fitzpatrick, Peter Beta. A lot of Chad Wilfong. A lot of really Angie Clark. A lot of wonderful members. Join our CinemAddicts Facebook group and for just daily movie recommendations. So it's really a value added group. Really love this group. And also towards parts of the month, there are people who, I'm thinking like Leslie Davis again. Yeah, again, Chad Wilfong, Andrew Martin. People just start giving out screen passes from their Movies Anywhere account. So that's a Voodoo account. So that's really awesome stuff. Really cool movie group. We have only just about 500 members, a very intimate group. Our
Real quick about that, because I've seen those screen passes. How do those work?
I'm an idiot because I usually accept the passes and I end up not watching them. But what you have to do is I believe you have to have a Movies Anywhere account if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And then you just enable that link, Eric, when you just have to have your Movies Anywhere account enabled on your phone, on your iPad, or on your Fire Stick and your TV and stuff like that. And that's how you watch that movie. So
basically, if you're saying if someone's listening to this and they go to the CinemAddicts Facebook page and they see someone put up one of those screen passes and they have a Movies Anywhere account, they might just be able to click on, hey, that looks like a cool movie, click on it and be able to watch it right there.
Yes. Yeah. And as long as of course that link is first come, first serve. And yeah, I mean, it's whoever gets there first, but it's good. It's a free movie and you don't have to pay your money. So that's a really good one of these days. I don't know if you guys have a really good digital library. I don't yet, but I think that's something I need to build. Bruce, Eric, you guys have digital movies on your phone or that you cast from your computer? You have
I got a couple of them. Most of the ones that I have are like physical. The digital copies I have, I got a couple just because I rented them or bought them when they came out, but I don't have a like a centralized area that they're not very organized at all. They're just kind of spread all over.
How about you, Bruce? You have a couple here and there on your computer?
I have 10 or 15 on there. And a lot of times it's when I buy one and it has the digital too, I just load it. So that way the kids or my wife or anybody can just easily get to it, not have to like do like I do and get a physical copy.
We are so old. We believe in putting discs into machines. Look at us oldies with our wonderful physical media. Now, before we leave our episode with this week, Bruce, do you have what's in the bleeping box? What's in the box? As Bruce shakes the box looking for a weekly pick from one of our members. Again, if you have any movie choices or picks for Bruce Perky to watch, he'll put them in the box. Just email bruceperky@gmail.com for your recommendation.
So when you're Mr. Gregor Scissorhands, when you're editing this, you'll have to put in a sad horns or something sound here because the turd has finally landed. My son's pick has finally come out of the box. He's probably sitting out there right now. He's probably very excited.
Gotta go. Gotta
go. So I will have to watch next week Bobbleheads the movie.
Oh, jeez. Bobbleheads the movie. That's okay, folks. If you want to actually join Bruce Perky in this wonderful Bobbleheads experience, which I hope you don't. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know if let me guess.
Kill me, Michael. Kill me.
Are you gonna watch the beta test before Bobbleheads, Bruce? What are you gonna watch first? Bobbleheads movie.
Beta comes before Bobble in the alphabet. So yes, I will.
And Eric, one more thing. When are you gonna watch the French Dispatch? Are you gonna watch that before the beta test, or maybe never until the 12th of never for that Wes Anderson movie?
If I have to watch it, I will. I'm just not a Wes Anderson fan. I do have one thing to bring up though.
For your birthday, can I get you a whole Criterion collection of Wes Anderson films? Would that be a wonderful birthday present for you?
And actually, I have a lot of them.
You look at you. You have a lot of them.
I kept trying. It wasn't like I watched a Wes Anderson turned off. And by the way, I do like Bottle Rocket. I do like Fantastic Mr. Fox. So he does stuff that I like. It's just I can't. It's not in my wheelhouse and I can't quite explain it, but I do have one thing to bring up before we leave.
Yes, sir.
And I almost forgot about this. I'm in a writers group. We go like once a month, twice a month, and one of the guys in my writers group name is Rick Fisher, and he wrote a book called Chameleons.
Chameleons.
And look at that handsome guy.
Very handsome. Look at that.
And Yeah, I can't quite review it yet because I just got it. Yeah, if you want to support a friend of mine who's in my writers group, Rick Fisher, he would appreciate it if you check out his book. You can get the actual book on Amazon, or they have like the Kindle thing. Not very expensive. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I can talk to him. We can get him on the show at some point to
Sounds
come here
good.
and talk about his book. Because here's the cool thing: how many people do you know that actually wrote a book? I mean, that's a
huge
that's
accomplishment.
Exactly. And so
Hey, Eric,
congratulations to him for that.
Congratulations, Rick Fisher, and it's Fischer. If you're looking for Amazon, and the book is called Chameleons. And of course, Eric, bring whatever, any friend of yours, Eric, is a friend of Bruce's, so don't worry about it. You can always bring him to the podcast. You don't have to worry about it. So
I'll be sure to and don't stare Greg in the eyes. He will snap at you.
I will snap. I will snap. As per usual, we are leading off the episode. We are signing off with some thoughts from Bruce Berkey.
Well, I know next week we plan on talking about the beta test, but I just want to say both of my co-hosts pass the alpha test.
Very sweet. I don't know what to say to that. We will see you guys next week. I was going to say something smart, but I got nothing. Thank you, Bruce, for that wonderful compliment. And yes, happy birthday, Eric Holmes. You're turning 69 tomorrow. May you have a wonderful 69th birthday. We love you so much. We'll see you guys next week.